Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bold Discussions on Purpose. I'm your co host, Antwanette Weaver of A Bold Story Never Ends, and I am joined with our usual co host, Miss Rashan Carter-Davison. And we also have a guest host with us today. So, welcome, Miss Danielle Houston of Angel Babies Matter. Okay, so today we're talking about the important topic of in pregnancy and infant loss when things don't go as planned. Okay. Approximately 2 million women experience pregnancy loss annually. This is including miscarriages, which is defined as under 20 weeks of gestation, and stillbirths, which are considered after that 20-week mark. And so this is an important topic because we are literally losing approximately 600,000 babies a year to miscarriage and 24,000 babies a year to miscarriage. I mean, to still births. And so we wanted to focus on this topic because it is tremendously impacting our community. And I think it's definitely a very under discussed topic because of some of the taboo and stigma attached to it. And so we wanted to definitely address this with you guys today.
So we know that October is Awareness Month for a couple of different things. And this is a topic that doesn't get much light shown on it. We talk about domestic violence, we talk about depression, we talk about anxiety, we talk about World Mental Health Day. We talk about all those things and we kind of leave this, which is such a heavy but very important topic, to just be discussed amongst the community in which it affects directly, but we don't talk about it as a whole. So, as you all know, on Bold Discussions on Purpose, we're going to have those candid conversations about those things that we don't talk about. So, we thought that this was very important to highlight this month as we did our October episode.
Definitely. And as you know, Rashawn and I are both therapists, and so we can approach this from the therapeutic point of view, but we thought that there's no better expert than a mother who has experienced pregnancy and infant loss. So we have again Miss Danielle Houston with us here today. Danielle, can you share
Thank
just a
you
little
for
bit?
having me, Rashan. And Antoinette, I'm glad to be here. So October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. In 1988, Ronald Reagan declared October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And on October the 15th was Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day. I'm proud to report a few years ago, Sylvester Turner proclaimed October the 15th as Angel Babies Matter Network.
All
Pregnancy and
right.
Infant Loss Awareness Day in the
Congratulations.
city of Houston, and we are still building on that because we have done a lot of work in the community surrounding pregnancy and infant loss. So, to piggyback off of what Antoinette was speaking about, 24,000 mothers and families experience loss in the United States after, um, well, the categories are miscarriage, stillbirth, and even neonatal death, where the baby dies in NICU or shortly after birth. I experienced this loss twice with my first child was a girl, and I named her Angel, and I was 7 months, and I gave birth to my baby girl Angel. And I always, tell people that the initial shock of it was devastating, but I went through a range of emotions that we could talk about later. Um, but the actual stillbirth was just that. It was quiet. It was, you know, not a birth where everybody's like, oh, let me see the baby. It was kind of like, everybody sad. The immediate emotions that come after that, the blame, the guilt, the jealousy. Like, why me? Why did it have to? The moms down the hallway pushing their babies and everybody, all the family, and you got this little baby in the freezer. That kind of thing. So it's definitely a taboo topic. People don't share, and that's how I ended up starting Angel Babies Meta Network, because I was one of those moms, those 1 in 4 moms that experienced this. I didn't share for a long time, but then when I started to talk about it, I started to heal. And then I learned more mothers had experienced that and never told their full story. They never shared that with too many people. But that network, that safe space to be able to share that with other people who have experienced that and who could validate your experience. They can't make it better, but they could be a sister with you and help you to grieve, because it's not a short process. It's lifelong.
Right. And as you know, I lost my son Cameron to suicide, but he was 29 years old, and so it's a different form of grief. So I just want you to kind of share a little bit about the uniqueness of this grief. We actually talked yesterday about this, about how that looks differently. Because I did have 29 years, and so I'm grieving that the loss of the memories that we have yet to make, but also the experiences that we share. And so you kind of shared your perspective of that and how unique that is because you never had an opportunity to make those memories with your babies.
It's a unique experience from the moment you find out that the child is gone, because immediately you'll get the same result. And I really hate this, doing this, because I don't like to compare losses at all. But I'll tell you, in a unique way, immediately people start looking at the mom like, what were you doing? Did you not know? Did you not feel anything? Did you not tell your doctor? The questions become a blame game, right? What did you do to prevent this? But in the same way, Antwanette, I'm sure you felt people when asking questions that they're judging, like, you didn't know, you didn't see the signs, what were you doing? Were your head in the clouds? Were you too busy to realize something was wrong?
Right.
You get the same. It's not much of a difference. It's just, it hurts when somebody blames a loss on you, like,
Right.
as if you could stop it.
Absolutely.
If you could have stopped it, you would have,
Definitely.
But also the yearning, like, it could be people tell you that just have another one. It'll be dismissed. I think that's a unique way people identify uh, the grief in losing a baby, is that it's often dismissed, because if a mom loses early, or she was just weeks, 12 weeks or under, people not even consider that to be a real baby.
Right.
Right. But this mom could have been waiting, a year or two to get pregnant, and she finally found out, she's pregnant, and she goes and there it is, and you see it on the ultrasound, or you might hear the little first heartbeat, but by your second or third appointment, the baby's gone. So she hadn't even shared yet, so now she got to keep it to herself. I think that's another unique point, in addition to being shamed for a loss like that. It's an isolating feeling, because you might have not even told nobody who's pregnant and you lost, so now you got to be quiet about it.
Right. Because you're encouraged too to not say anything till you're 12.
They say, don't tell anybody till you're 12.
Mm-hmm.
I really hate that, because you want to be excited about that. And when I lost my first baby girl, Angel, I was past that point. I already had stuff in the closet, you know. So um, there's so many things we could talk about, but there's in the rush, the immediate rush to move on. Gotta just have another one, or it wasn't meant to be, or give it some time, or it wasn't the right time, you know. But when you have an adult child that you lost, or a kid, or whatever, they're not gonna tell you,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't meant to be, you
Right.
know, because it was.
Mhm.
And that's the same with a baby. It was. Don't
Right.
say it wasn't meant to be. It was. Right.
And I definitely think it comes from the lack of knowing what to say. But like you said, it doesn't hurt any less because I remember constantly hearing, he's in a better place, or, and there's this limitation on your grief, and I'm like, I loved my child for 29 years. How am I supposed to be over this, in a year or 2 years? And I'm sure that's very similar to your experience and with any type of loss.
The limitations don't stop right
Right.
after either. Part of my story, I had another pregnancy, my baby girl Angel, and I found out that she I found out about her demise at a doctor's appointment, and I immediately was like, this is deja vu. Like, this is crazy that I didn't know that could happen again in the same way. Um, Uniquely, sometimes you just don't know why. You never can find out why. So I had people to say to me, well, you know what it's like to lose, so you should be fine now.
Wow.
So, because I grieved Angel so long,
Right.
and almost 5 years before I had another baby, right? So it was like, well, you know what this feel like, and I said, no, actually, I don't.
Right.
I never lost two babies.
Right.
Right.
This is unique to me
Yes.
too.
I lost this baby.
Right.
Right.
So just a lot of they want you to hurry to get over it because it makes them feel uncomfortable that you're sad or that you are just not yourself or it has changed you because it does change you. It does change you.
I still want to point out, as you're stating that, I don't know if you ladies watch Sisters, right? Tyler Perry show Sisters. Karen, one of the characters on the show, was pregnant with twins, and she lost one of the twins, and she went into a very dark, deep depression, and she finally found herself coming out of it because one baby survived, one baby didn't. Of course, Tyler Perry always throws in all these extra things. So it just so happened that she was pregnant with twins, but uh, they were fertilized by two different daddies. So the one twin that passed away was the supposedly the love of her life. I say all that to say though, because art imitates life. And in the most recent episode, she went to counseling or a grief group for infant loss. And as you were saying, she felt she couldn't call on any of her friends, but she did call on Fatima, which is another character in the show, which is the fiance of the gentleman that the baby who passed, the twin baby that passed, father. And everybody was like, well, why would you call her? We're your friends. Y'all were like arch enemies. Like, what's going on? And she was like, I called her because I knew she wouldn't judge me. But you couldn't call your friends. So I say all that to say we gotta stop thinking that our strong friends are okay. We cannot continue to say, you know what this is, you'll be fine. And we can't force people or rush people through their grief of any magnitude because it's a personal journey for them and it's an experience that they have to experience and they just need the support. to get through it?
I'm not gonna say I hate, but I have learned that when I tell people don't do this or don't say that in this nonprofit space where I'm trying to provide support to moms and families, but there have people that never experienced it. They don't know what to say, so I'll tell them what helped me.
Right.
And what helped me was I'm not gonna give you a to-do list because it's real long of what not to say. I can tell you validation is one. And if you can say, um, I know you miss your baby. I know you lost your baby. And not just say, um, she had a miscarriage. She lost, she had a pregnancy loss. And even though it's called pregnancy loss, it was a person.
Right.
It's your baby.
And I always ask moms when they tell me they lost, what did you name your baby? Because you're giving that baby a name, and it's power in naming things.
Oh, that bad?
And even if it happened years ago and you never considered it, because I understand. I felt when they was asking me what I was gonna name Angel, I told them I didn't want to give her a name. And the lady said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I felt like she wasn't mine. I didn't get to keep her. I didn't get to hold her. I didn't get to see her. Well, I got to hold her, but I didn't get to see her open her eyes, cry, or anything. So I'm like, God, why did you let me get this far just to take my baby away? Like I was so angry and so um heartbroken, So just to tell a mom on the baby's birthday, asking, well, when was her birthday? I'm gonna remember you.
Right.
I'll call you for her birthday. Call her mom, she never had a baby. Call her for Mother's Day.
Right.
Still, I remember my cousin calling me and telling me Happy Mother's Day. Nobody else did it. That did something for me. Because I said, wow, she still thinks of me as a mom.
Yeah.
And while I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself, I'm like, oh, I'm about to go give me a Mother's Day. Wait a minute, I'm about to go dress up too.
That's right.
And so that did something for me. So instead of telling people, don't say it wasn't meant to be, ask the baby's name.
Yeah.
Buy something like she lost an adult child. Give her some cards or come see her, check on her. Hey, I want to know how you doing.
Right, absolutely.
My sister, one last thing I'll share. My sister, we always getting into it. So I don't want to give her too much credit. But one thing she did, and it warmed my heart, she put a post on Facebook. And she said, I'm going to breathe through this. She said, to my little niece, I was looking forward to painting your nails, and I'll see you in heaven. And that made me feel like, oh, she called my baby her niece. That you identified that loss and you made it a part of your loss. Right? Like it just didn't belong to me. So then I didn't feel as isolated. Like that experience was only mine. Y'all did not have
What therapists are we?
But the thing about not having tissue, because as a therapist, I provide tissue, but it's far away from my clients.
Yeah.
Because tissue makes you shut the emotion down.
Mm-hmm.
And in healing, we want to process through the emotion.
Well, I came here to be cute.
You are cute.
Still cute.
You're still cute. That's part of healing. We cute even when we healing. Healing is cute.
But that's one of the things that I truly admire about you is because it's hard enough to live your journey, with the experiences you have experienced, but to stand in the forefront and tell your story openly and then try to be there to support others in their journey that's, I'm getting my hairs are standing up on my arms because there's something so powerful with that. And so of course, I don't want to see you hurt, but I want you to be able to express that because I know that there's another woman sitting there watching and she's thinking, I have to be strong. I can't go and tell my story without having emotions behind it. And she just had an event a couple weeks ago and she blessed me with the honor of attending the event. And so, as an observer, I could see her experience all the emotions. I saw the excitement of this event. Like I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this. I brought all these people together. It was amazing. It was beautiful. But then also in the stories, I mean, it was so powerful. They had poets who had a loss and who was sharing about her story, her connection with her daughter. There was, an amazing singer who presented. There was even a comic. So literally, we got to feel all emotions throughout the day. And so I just looked at you with such pride because I saw you laugh, I saw you cry, but I saw you comfort other women. I saw you pour into them and build them up. And I was like, that is such an amazing thing that you're doing, that you turn your pain into such passion and purpose to be able to be, that support for others.
And ladies, I'll tell you, I didn't get there overnight. I didn't get there overnight. I didn't get there over 2 nights, 2 months, 2 years. It was a process, and it's still a process. And getting ready for, I just had an event called Healing and Henna. And what I was trying to do, the first event I ever had was when I was doing Angel Babies Matter Network, the launch. And I just wanted to give people, I just wanted to share my idea of what I was doing. So then I didn't think anybody was going to come again because they already knew. But I wanted to put a little spin on it where I wasn't sharing my story or what I was doing, which we donate care packages to the hospital. So when I left the hospital without my angel baby, Angel, I had a breakdown. And as we were driving away, the thoughts were coming like, you came in here pregnant, you're leaving without a baby.
Mm-hmm.
The car seat, the brand new car seat, you can't use it. Right? I felt so empty handed. Like I was sent away with discharge instructions. Go lay down, take your meds, take your blood pressure meds. Let me know if you run fever. It was like, go home, drink some water. You're going to be all right. And I felt so just, like I had got robbed, to make sure that no mother will leave a hospital with empty arms and a broken heart and no support. I did that twice, and I know what that feels like. So I started to do care packages, and we put together things, Mommy of an Angel, Daddy of an Angel keychains, and baby blankets, and seeds for a garden, and candles, and a picture frame for the ultrasound, or maybe you might have had a picture of the baby, molding kits for the baby's hands, just different things inside of these care packages, um, notes of encouragement, and mental health resources was the most important thing. And so I shared that with the ladies, and then they started to help me to build those packages. So since I started, I've donated over 2,000 care packages across the Houston area. And then I had so many doubts, like, oh, this is not because I'm telling people how to heal, and here I am breaking down, crying every other day, because it's hard to recite your loss, right? It's hard to tell people they see what you're doing and they're like, oh, that's great. What made you start? And then
Gotta tell my story.
Yes.
I gotta tell, so but it's been healing for me because I shared with Antoinette the other day that I kept looking at me telling this story like you're making people say you're bringing people down with this story, and that's not my personality. I like to laugh and talk and make little smart comments and be joke around and stuff. And but then I would get sad. But I started looking at it differently, like I was sharing some type of hope, or there's some light on the other side. That it's okay to miss your baby and to talk about the baby. I started talking about it more and more. So now I'm talking about it to anybody who want to listen.
And what would you say to that family who is not yet at that point where they're able to share their loss?
You're not going to get there any faster by rushing yourself. You have to allow yourself, you have to give yourself permission to feel what you feel and know that that's okay. I was invited to a baby shower right after I had Angel for my cousin. And I'm not going to say her name, I'm just going to call her T. But she had a baby shower in Louisiana and all my family was going. I said, I can't go. And I felt guilty for not going. And then I was like, well, she would have went to mine, whatever. So I said, well, I'll send her a gift. And then I'm like, well, let me not be like that. Let me not be jealous, not be resentful. I'm going to go. No, I can't go because then everybody's going to be asking me what happened and why. And I went through back and forth. And then I finally called her and I said, T, I can't make it. And she said, oh, thank God you're not coming. I said, really? She said, yeah, I'm so glad you're not coming. And that from that point on, I said, I'm going to give myself permission to take my time.
That's right.
To take my time. And so when I started going back to church, I'm in there like, thank you, Lord. And at least I still got me. And I'm clapping and singing. And then this lady sits behind me with a brand new baby. And the baby, and I can tell, I never turned around. But that baby had this brand new baby cry. And the hairs on the back of my neck stood up and I said, okay, all right, y'all, I'm out. Like I was out of there. But I stopped going to places where I felt like I was going to be triggered. And I had to give myself that permission. I was eventually able to move on. And this is the adult show. Okay. Like, even with my husband, it took me a long time to want to be intimate again. I felt like every time the subject came up or whatever, I was just like, nope, not ready yet. It's like I kept thinking sex, pregnancy. Not doing neither one of those right now. Mm-hmm. So I shut him down. And, he was very patient with me, but the patience was running out. And then when I decided I was going to try again, and I was like, okay, you need to be nice to me and be home by 5, all day need to be nice. So I went through so many emotions around that, and then people say, well, why don't you have a baby? Why won't you try again? I don't really owe you that explanation.
Right.
Right. And I started to shut people down in the nicest way I could. But I gave myself permission to protect my feelings and where I was. I'm not talking about that right now.
And I think that's so powerful because I think we do feel obligated to answer those questions. I remember after losing Cameron for months, thankfully we were in the middle of COVID, so I was able to isolate for a great amount of time. But I remember truly being afraid to even go to the grocery store because I was so afraid that I was going to run into someone and they were going to ask me about him, or they were going to, even like when I did start to go out and I had a massage and someone asked me, how many kids do you have? So that sent me spiraling because, and then I started to ask myself, well, why are you inconveniencing yourself? Why are you torturing yourself because you don't want to offend someone else or you don't want them to be hurt by your response? So I'm sure you've probably, felt that, especially, the people that don't know right away that that you've lost your baby and they see you, for the first time and they have questions.
Right.
Why did we do that to
Because we know it.
Yeah,
We know it, and we don't. And like we said, we don't know what to say. So we think of all the other things. Because I know for me, if it comes down to anything grief related to loss, I don't like when people say, "I understand." You don't understand. You can't.
No.
You can't. I don't care if you had a similar loss. The experience is different. So you don't understand. So I can definitely understand. I can understand the sentiment of giving yourself permission to not engage in certain conversations, not because of the other person, but for you and your experience.
Give myself permission to be me in my responses. Sometimes I would joke, and then because I thought it was one way. I had to rehearse this answer so that anybody who asked me, I'm gonna have this answer ready. And then I gave myself permission to just be you. If you feel like talking about it, don't give it to them.
Right.
You
Depends on
gotta
the
meet
day
it.
and
I'm
how
gonna talk
I'm
to
feeling.
you. Right. And then it was some people that's like, I don't know you like that, and I don't want to talk. I don't have any kids. You want kids? No. And then I was just like, however I feel, that's how I'm gonna answer. And I had one of my smart cousins, and she was saying, so, I'm not pressuring you, but when you gonna have another baby? I said, when I do, I'm gonna call you. Right? I'm gonna say, girl, tonight is the night. I'm gonna FaceTime you. I'm gonna FaceTime you, let you watch. See, you didn't like my answer.
Right.
You thought that was inappropriate. So stop asking me.
Because your question
was not inappropriate. So I started to give myself permission to be me. And that allowed me to heal. And it was some years later. Every January 10th, I'd be under the covers. Covers over my head. I don't want to talk to nobody. Just give me my day to stop.
Right.
And then I say, if I had a little girl right now, we'll be like Hillary Banks and little Hillary, And I said, today I'm gonna celebrate Angel's birthday, and I'm going to go get my nails done, and I'm gonna go shopping, and I'm gonna get my makeup done, and my hair done, and I just had me a spa day, and I was just spending all kind of money. And I had brunch and
you deserve every minute of
it.
And okay. I had a piece of cake, and everything. And I said, from today on, I'm gonna honor her birthday, and I'm not gonna be sad. And I'm just gonna pretend like she with me.
Yeah.
Because she is. But I'm very careful not to tell moms who just lost, oh girl, just go get your nails done.
Right.
You gotta meet people where they are, and they're not ready to do that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's key, like knowing when to recommend certain things, when to suggest certain things, and I think it goes back to what you said earlier, kind of just opening the door and letting that mother, share with you what's appropriate in that moment, instead of you suggesting things or recommending things. Maybe just asking, what can I do for you? How can I show up for you? Not necessarily asking questions or offering anything other than I'm just here. If you just want me to sit here and hold your hand, or if you want me to just sit in the room with you, what can I do? Because I feel like that's also something that people say, well, what do you need? I don't know what I need.
Right.
Let me know if you need something.
Like, I'm not gonna call you. I never have, I never will.
But I did have people that say, just offer what you can do. Say, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. What you need from the grocery? What you need from Kroger?
Mhm.
You know that mom not leaving the house right now. She just had a baby and she just lost a baby.
Right.
You know, hey, I'm gonna pick up some food. You want something? What you want from Whataburger or whatever?
Mhm.
Instead of saying, tell me if you need something, because that mom not gonna say, hey, go get up out your bed, go. But if you can offer something, say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. I'll be over there tomorrow. Got some free time. You know, let me come help you wash your dishes. Or you want some ice cream?
Yes.
You know? Or whatever, you can come in, you can offer what you can. You know? But you don't have to do anything. You don't have to have these profound words to say. It's great. You don't say anything.
It's probably preferred.
It's
but
preferred.
Definitely, I like what you said, that, you know, instead of saying, what do you need, what can I offer? You know, oh, I'm about to run by the store. Can I get you some apple juice or orange juice? Or if you know that person and you know what they like, just going and swinging and picking it up. And, hey, girl, I'm about to pass by your house. You at home? Nah, y'all don't tell them people y'all not at home. Y'all at home, okay? So, you know, so that they can come drop something off. Because there you go.
You know,
right? Yeah, and I love the care package you talked about too. You know, because I think that's important.
So our care packages, they have Angel Babies Matter on them. They're like clear cosmetic bags. I should have brought them, but you can go on my website. You can see all of the deliveries that and so we donate them to hospitals. We go to the L&D, and we also have gone to the ERs. The thing about losing early is that people think that it doesn't hurt as bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a late term loss. But if a mom was looking for that baby, she lost a lot. She lost the chance to ever see the baby and any future events, a baby shower, or even being able to hold her baby. She lost all of it. All her hopes and dreams are gone for that child. So the care packages really give a mom something tangible to hold on to. There's the National African American Quilt Guild donated 600 baby quilts. They handmade these quilts and they donated them. They have little angels on them to Angel Babies Meta Network, and they all are in the care packages. And then another quilt guild caught hold of it, the Sisters Who Quilt.
Okay.
And they donated 250 more quilts, and they're in Dallas. And then it was like other quilt guilds saying, well, we want to do it too. So the moms have baby quilts. We sometimes could get them personalized if they tell us what the baby's name, baby's birthday, or whatever. But those care packages remind the moms that you wasn't just a case in the hospital. We talk about the 1 in 4 mothers who experience a loss, or the 24,000 mothers a year who lose, but those are not statistics, right? Those are your friends, those are your neighbors, your sisters, your aunt, your cousins, your coworkers. Those are real people, right? You know, those numbers, and you think, oh, well, it's been 2 months and they lost the baby and they seem to be fine in that.
Right.
Right. And you touched a little bit, Danielle, about your husband and how he had to adjust to you wanting to be physically intimate with him again. And I know, of course, you can't speak for men because you're not a father, but I think we would be remiss if we don't mention that the fathers too are experiencing the loss. So, can you touch on that a little bit?
My husband took off 2 weeks, but men don't get
paternity leave.
Leave.
Some jobs offer, but not all.
Some jobs, yes.
he took off 2 weeks and he was with me while I physically was healing. And that was probably the worst of my, those first 2 weeks was the worst of my mental breaking. Um, I kept going to sleep and I would wake up hearing a baby cry. But I never brought my baby home. So I don't know why I kept hearing a baby cry, but I would jump up out of my sleep. And then about the third day, I started lactating and I was becoming engorged. And I absolutely hated that because I was reading all of these books about breastfeeding and this and that and what to do and the nursing pillows. And I was like, I was ready to be the mommy of the year. I was like, I had all the good stuff in the Amazon cart. Like, I was ready. But when that time came, I didn't have no baby to feed. That was an experience my husband and I really just kind of connected with. Because he saw, you can't see what people are thinking.
Right.
And you can only see their demeanor, but he saw me like, what is going on? And I absolutely hate everything right now. Everything. I don't know if that was worse. 2 experiences was really worse. So let me go back to when I found out the baby was dead. I go to the doctor and I wear glasses. So I took my glasses off and I'm just laying there and the lady doing the sonogram and she pushes and she starts saying, turn over here. And she going harder and harder and she doing like this and then she got some more of that
Gel.
And, I mean, she was like, let's turn over. And then she said, I'll be right back. And I was like, okay, well, chill up. She kind of manhandling me a little bit. But I kept my glasses off and I'm just, I didn't see anything because she stopped touching or whatever. And then she came back. I didn't realize it was my doctor because I couldn't see. But I saw her and then she came and she said, I'm at Houston. We were just looking. So the two of them was talking and whatever, and I'm just,
in bliss,
looking, whatever. And then she finally stopped and she said, I'm sorry, Miss Houston, but there's no heartbeat. And my husband jumped up and he said, what? And I said, baby, sit down. Let her finish telling us what's going on. Because I was like, I don't know. I guess it didn't dawn on me what you saying.
There is no heart.
There's no heartbeat. And I'm just like, okay, so what you do now? Like, I don't know if they're going to make the heart start beating or what you trying to say. Because, it never clicked what she was
words.
She said, I'm so sorry, Miss Susan. There's no heartbeat. And he jumped up and I said, baby, sit down. The lady friend telling us what's going on. And then she said, I'm so sorry. And I was like, well, what can we do? Because the baby inside of me, so I got a heartbeat. So the baby got a heartbeat, right? Right. Something going right. And so she was just kept saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The baby is not moving. And you got some options. So she was like, the first thing we can do is we can send you down to induce you. Or we can do what we call an advanced abortion. I said, it's over? Yeah. It's over? She said, yeah, I'm sorry. I said, oh no. Like that. And I didn't even, when she said she was going to send me down to L&D or whatever, it done, and then she said the second option, and I was like, "It's over? Like you telling me this is over? It's not time." So that's when I learned, and then she gave me the options for both, and she told me the advanced abortion would be. She was way too graphic for my liking, but she told me there was gonna be some process of me getting dilated, and then it was gonna basically vacuum the baby out. That way, I didn't have to go through labor. And then she said, "Well, you'll be asleep." And I said, "I'm not having an abortion."
Right.
And then she said, "Well, the baby won't feel it. The baby dead." And I said, "Ma'am, don't talk to me right now."
Right.
Right.
Because this is my baby.
Yeah,
Right.
this
Right.
is too much.
It's not an option.
And then she was like, "Well, we can induce you, but you don't want to go through that. It's gonna be a long thing, and you're not gonna get what you. It's not gonna be what you think." And I said, "I'm not ready to make a decision yet." And I got up and I said, "I'm ready to go home. Take me home."
Mm-hmm.
And I went home and I cried and I called my mom. And my mom said, "Oh no, this baby not dead. It just can't. You just got a little weight on you, and they can't find a heartbeat. And we're gonna go back to get a second opinion." I said, "Mommy, I think she was right, but I don't know. I'm not ready to." Like, I don't know if I thought if I stay pregnant, the baby gonna come back or whatever. I don't know what I thought, but we went back the next day and it was still the same result and confirmed. And she told me possibly the baby had been dead for a few days, already started to demise and things like that. And I was just like, okay, let me just get it over with. Let me go through the advanced abortion, because my mom was like, yeah, just don't put yourself through that. But then they had just passed this law.
Ooh, the government always interfering with something.
And the law was brand new that advanced abortion could be no more. Right? There will be no more advanced abortions. And my baby was already dead, but nobody knew what that looked like, right? Because there was still a procedure called dilate and evacuate, which is an advanced abortion, which is different from a DNC or whatever. But
Right.
Dilate and evacuate was what she called it, a DNE. So then we go around looking for a doctor that would perform this medical procedure, and they always like,
We're not touching it.
we ain't touching you with a 10-foot pole. You're gonna have to stay pregnant. I stayed pregnant day after day after day, knowing that my baby was dead. And I was at home, and the days kept passing by, and I was still pregnant with a dead baby. And I was going through all kind of mental challenges because of it. I was making myself sick because I was like, "Oh, this baby is just decaying in my body." And then I was like, "Well, I don't want it to be over. Maybe if I pray hard, maybe if I pray real hard, something's gonna happen." And I was like, "Oh, I think I feel something moving. I think the baby's alive." I went back. "I think my baby's alive. I felt something." No, Miss Houston. And I'm like, "Well, we'll take the baby out." "Well, we can't touch you right now. So yeah, I have to wait it out." Wait it out for how long?
Right.
Till the baby come. Well, the baby don't know to come because the baby. So somebody gonna do something
Today.
Somebody gonna do something. So, it was about a week, and then I found this doctor. I'm never gonna say your name. Gave me something to put. Well, he put it in my cervix to make my cervix thin. And it sent me into labor. So then I went through 12 hours of labor. And then they couldn't do nothing then because I was in active labor. And I had my baby 8:06 in the morning on January 10th. And I pushed out this little clay baby. She didn't have no color. But you know how I said we look like clay? That's what the baby looked like, clay. But I held her, and I had just so much peace because I didn't vacuum my baby out.
Right.
That was God. I was able to hold her. I was able to bathe her. I was able to pray for her. They came got out the room and put her back in the freezer. And then people started coming to see me. Brother baby, you will never see my baby.
Mm-hmm.
And the photographers start coming in there. You want pictures? I'm like, they didn't tell y'all. Some of the new shift changes is coming. Congratulations. I'm like, y'all better put a sign up or something because
Yes.
I'm gonna go off on one of y'all in a minute. We're gonna move you to another side. See all the babies and the nursery. Woo. I'm so happy I'm right here right now telling my story. Because it was hard. So I'll tell you, you ain't gonna get there overnight. That's not an overnight process.
Absolutely.
And then I didn't talk about it.
Well, we are so grateful that you are blessing us with your story and talking about it. I can see the continued healing that's happening through every statement, every syllable, and every word you're saying. So we do appreciate you, and we do want you to know that you are supported here with us.
Well, I'll say this. You're gonna go through every stage of grief 3 or 4 times.
Oh yeah.
What it look like? That's what does that look like?
You know, I think many people think that grief is linear because you hear about the stages of grief and you have that denial and then you have the acceptance. You have, all of those components. But the reality is that you can go through every stage of grief in one day.
Yep.
And like she said,
Wow.
yeah, in 1 hour, literally. Because your brain, again, our brain is trained to remember and recall. And so we have that anticipation of what should be, like she said with her, I woke up every night for 2 months expecting for someone to come in and tell me that I was dreaming, you know. And so that took me right back to, and that's, of course, the denial phase. This is not happening. And then you start to accept the reality, and that's far out. That's years later. But then you go right back to the denial because you tell yourself, well, no, it really isn't true. I really have been dreaming for 3 years. I'm gonna wake up and the reality, a different reality will set in. And so, and not only do we have to understand that you're dealing with grief, but everything that she has described also sets her up for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Absolutely.
And people don't get that. They think when you say PTSD, they think immediately military.
Yep.
But how can you not, have an emotional, a visceral reaction when you've experienced what you've
So let's talk about that. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay. And the key word in that is trauma. So trauma doesn't just stop at military. Anything that causes a visceral reaction, a psychological reaction, a physiological reaction that puts you in a negative space is deemed trauma for the body and trauma for the person. So post-traumatic stress doesn't just stop with one population. It's whatever that trauma is. Trauma could be a car accident. Trauma could be a fight. Trauma could be anything that causes that overthinking of the body. You're experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. You're having a physiological, some of the criteria is flashbacks, internal and external cues, direct or witnessing of a traumatic event. You have cognitive delay or memory confusion. You have physiological response. You have from two internal or external cues. You have psychological response to internal or external cues. You have avoidance of areas or things that cause internal external cues. So understand that you're not just dealing with grief, you're dealing with a traumatic experience, and your body is going through it as well as your mental capacity is going through it.
I started getting counseling in 2023. And I was just talking to my counselor about my weight gain. I had got up to almost 300 pounds. And I told her that I was still wearing my maternity clothes because I liked to look pregnant. And I would not get rid of my maternity clothes. The shirts, the stretchy pants, like I liked it all. I wouldn't throw away some of my things because I felt like people were trying to force me to erase my baby. And I wasn't about to let that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We're holding on in every way that you could.
I held on to everything, including the weight. Actually, probably gained more weight too. It took me a while to get to the point where I had to accept that I don't have to look pregnant, you know. But I was so cuckoo. I'm gonna make y'all laugh. I used to do a little wobble too when I walked. Like, and I was not pregnant, but my belly was round, and I had a maternity shirt on, and I just had me a pregnancy wobble in the grocery store. Like I was a little cuckoo, but I felt like that was all that was all taken away from me, and I was just trying to hold on to whatever I could.
Yeah, and you were cuckoo.
No.
You were a mother holding on
That's
to
right.
her baby.
When I got to the point where um, I was ready to accept my losses, because I did tell you that happened to me too.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you which one was the worst, because my first baby was such a shock, and then all of the things that came with it. And then when I lost Imani, I was like careful not to eat the wrong thing, move the wrong way, sleep the wrong way. I was breathing and walking and taking my vitamins and doing everything I felt like I could have done better with the first one, and it happened again. It happened again, and I was in disbelief again. Like, I know you lying to me again, right? I push out the baby, and I don't get to take the baby home. But I'm calling Allen Family Mortuary to come get my baby from a local hospital. I got 2 urns on my fireplace. What is that? And why? You start to think, am I being punished? Or what? And the way I was responding was nothing healthy. And I knew after the second loss, if I catch myself right now it's gonna be a hard coming back. So I don't know what was worse. I can't tell you which one was worse, but I'll tell you with my second loss, a light came on that was like a knife in a wound that hadn't even healed yet, and it happened again. I was waiting on somebody to come tell me the right thing or do something for me, and nobody was coming to save me. And I had to realize I had to pull myself out of that. And that's why I started Angel Babies Meta Network. I needed to be the light that I wish that I had. Because I'm not the only one that experienced that. Actually, it sounds so traumatic to anybody who's listening and never heard no stuff like that. But it happens more than you think. It happens every day. And moms get told, just have another baby, or it's because you weren't going to the doctor, or it's because you was fat, or it's because you wasn't married to that man, you didn't need that baby, or you was too young, or you got enough kids, or
All the stigmas.
oh, whatever. The people say whatever to you. So they trash you.
Yeah.
They trash.
Yeah.
I even had a lady tell me, "Girl, you better get that man a baby before you get one with somebody else."
Oh my goodness.
And I looked at my I said, "Is that how you feel?" He said, "Don't listen to that."
Right. Yeah. It's truly insane that people think that, number one, but to say it out loud. No, it's at no point as that was rising up did you think that I don't need to let this come out of my mouth.
Right.
You know, it's just
I feel like
It's
unbelievable.
Nothing stops them. But I want to say, ladies, I know we want to be respectful of everybody's time.
absolutely.
And I hope y'all gained something. But we did have questions. Now let's be clear. Y'all know we come in here with a whole script. But this is bold discussions on purpose. And sometimes we can't stick to the script because we have to be bold in the conversation, in the discussion. And the topic was just too real to utilize all that we had. But I've been checking our checklist, ladies, and we've been on topic. We just haven't followed it to the T
in the order.
In the order in which it received. So I just want to do a quick recap. As we talked about, we did talk about understanding what makes pregnancy and infant loss such a unique and complex form of grief and how it compares to other types of loss. We did touch on that. It is unique in its own way, but it does have some overlapping in certain areas, but we don't want to treat it as though it is comparable because it's not. We did talk about some of the common emotional and psychological reactions that parents experience after such a loss and how those feelings evolve over time. As Ms. Danielle constantly pointed out, is you got to give yourself time. Time is the healer. I know we don't like to hear that all the time because we're like, we want to, let's get this over with and done with and ready to move on. Or we don't feel like we have enough time to get through it. So remember that, we got to give ourselves time. We talked about why it's difficult for many families to talk about it openly because people nosy and they don't know how to talk to people. So you do clam up, you do want to isolate, you do want to not really engage. Or at least if you do engage, you want to make sure you find the right people to engage with.
Correct.
You want to make sure that you're reaching out to those individuals that are supportive of you. And did you all want to add anything to that?
Speaking of that, Angel Babies Meta Network has a healing circle that we meet monthly virtually online. And we have Jeanette Dove. She's a psychotherapist, but we will also have other therapists on. So if you are interested in sharing your story, if you are interested in just looking for a network of women who understand what it's like to have a unique grieving process. All of the ladies in there has lost a baby, but no two experiences have been the same, and we understand that, and so we are careful not to. I lost five, and you lost two, but I lost mine at this age, and you're
Right.
yours
The
at this age. You know,
comparison.
so we don't do that.
No.
We're just there to listen.
And they can, everybody that's watching, you're on the screen, you should see Angel Babies Matter.com coming across the screen, so you can check out the website. It is there.
We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram.
Check them out.
We have events all during the year for moms. Even if you don't have a baby, you're welcome to join us. You have an angel baby, so you're still a mommy.
That's right. That's right.
Definitely.
Ms. Antwanette, do you want to speak on? We did talk about, from a therapeutic standpoint, what are some healthy ways individuals can begin processing this kind of grief without feeling pressure to move on? Do you have any highlights you want to give to us on that?
I just want to say, number one, allow yourself to feel your experience. We touched on that many times, but we can't emphasize that enough. There is no time limit. There is no, you don't have to put that type of pressure on yourself. Allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling, and don't attach any shame or guilt to that. You may be pissed off today. You may be sad tomorrow. You may be sad at 8 a.m. and at 8:10, you're pissed off. And then you're happy at 8:15. Allow yourself to feel all of those. Do not rob yourself of the opportunity to process your feelings. Uh, Speak for understanding so that people know what you're going through. Or if you don't want to speak at all, don't speak at all. But don't feel that you have to handle it alone. If it's whether it's a friend, if you're ready to go into therapy, if you're not ready to go into therapy, find a support group, of women who share your common experience. So just do, point blank period, just do whatever it is that you need to survive in that moment. Also, it's helpful to maintain your routines, because I know I had people calling me asking me, did you shower this week? Because sometimes you need that reminder. I don't want to get up. Who cares if I speak? I don't want you to around me in any way. So, but try to maintain those routines, because it helps you to hold on to some semblance of normalcy, and it helps with the entire process. And most important, self-compassion. You have been through a lot. It is your story. It is your journey. Be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. Ms. Danielle pointed out, giving yourself permission. We do not give ourselves permission enough. I used to say giving myself grace, but I might have to still give yourself permission. So definitely, we also touched on how does pregnancy and infancy loss affect relationships with the family system, and what strategies could help. And we discussed how sometimes community expectations shape how people experience and express this loss, or how people respond to it. Um, Identifying when to seek help. I think that is, again, when you feel it.
I would say grief is natural. Grief is natural. But when you start to feel hopeless, when you're ready to harm yourself or harm your other children or snatch somebody's baby out of their arms, or you feel like angry or so isolated, um, that's a good time. But I'll tell you, now is a good time. If you don't even feel any of those raw feelings, it's okay to talk to a therapist, and nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's okay for nothing to be wrong and to talk to somebody. You know, it's okay. And I just want to say before we close, Antoinette, thank you for inviting me here. I feel sometimes some self doubt that um, losing babies that people never saw was it's still it's even if I got two urns and see 'em or whatever, it's still a lot of moms feel like me. And losing an adult child is worse. And so what you've done for me,
You're not about to make me cry, Danielle.
Validation. Validation.
About
is
to make me cry.
validating my experience and let me know that not that I needed that, but I did need that. I needed to know that you're a mom who lost a child. And it doesn't matter how old your child is.
Because it's your child from the moment you conceived.
That's right.
And you have all of these pictures and memories and mannerisms to think back on. And all I can remember is trauma, 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 and more trauma.
And my heart aches for you because you did get to experience that. And so I definitely don't hold it to like my journey is different or more traumatizing or more important because I grieve your inability to have those experiences with your baby. Just like I grieve the not having the opportunity to see my son become a father and to to share in those experiences. So we can't do that to each other. We can't minimize each other's experience. We can't make our journey any more important or anyone else's less important because it's not the same. And so I just want to say like I said, you are stuck with me at this point, sister, because I'm so sometimes it's grief is a very lonely place. Loss of a child is a very lonely place, and so when you connect with people who understand that, you have to hold on to them. And so, like I said, I admire you what you're doing. And she threw out there that she's given 2,000 care packages, but what she has not mentioned is she only founded her organization in 2022. So in 3 years, this is what she's accomplished. And so now I'm like, what can a bold story do to help you with this journey? How can I support you? And I know you said the same to me. It's like, what can I do to help you with your mission? And so, like I said, you're stuck with me. I'm so
Well, you
proud
stuck
of
with
you.
me now too, because I didn't already say it in my head. I didn't say it out loud. But I make self-care packets, pocket self-care kits. So every basket you make for a mom, I want you to let me know so I can put a pocket self-care kit in that.
It's needed.
It's just a little something. It's not much, but I found that it works.
Letting people know that they're thought of, and that's the whole thing. That you're not just a patient that just got dismissed and go home and take care. But somebody thought of you, and they're thinking of you. And when you reach out, when you're looking for resources in those care packages, mental health resources where moms can call for counseling, if you feel on the edge, suicide hotline, all of the resources are free to the moms. Thank you for having Angel Babies Matter Network on your show.
Thank you.
I haven't shared my story in a while, so it was getting a little rough at some moments. But I'll say what gives me joy is to let people know that the experience is ugly, but the healing is beautiful.
And look what the healing has created. Like you said, these relationships formed because of our experiences. not that we want to be here, but since we're here, we
Correct.
might as well
Might as
connect
well.
with some good people
That's right. That's
and make some
right.
great things happen. So until next time, this is Bold Discussions on